The transport ship shook as it docked with the massive space station floating above. Centauri Prime, Jake Morrison pressed his face against the small window and watched the academy grow larger. The building was huge, bigger than anything he had ever seen. It looked like a small city made of metal and glass. Spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Jake picked up his bag and followed the other new students down the hallway. Most of them looked nothing like humans. Some had blue skin, others had too many arms, and a few seemed to be made of crystal. They all whispered to each other in languages Jake did not understand. A tall alien with 6 arms and black shiny skin, like a bug, stood at the end of the hallway. His voice was deep and serious when he spoke. "Welcome to the Galactic Defense Academy. I am Commander Veltar. You are here to learn how to protect peace in the galaxy." Jake looked around at the other students. They all seemed nervous and excited. Some were taking pictures with strange devices. Others were shaking hands with each other, though some had claws instead of hands. "Each of you comes from a different world," Commander Veltar continued. "You must learn to work together. Your differences will make you stronger as a team." The commander's big black eyes stopped on Jake. "We have our first human student this year. Jake Morrison from Earth." All the other students turned to look at Jake. Some moved backward. A few made scared sounds. Jake waved and smiled, but this seemed to make them more nervous. "Earth is what we call a Class 12 death world," the commander explained. "Very few species could survive there. We are honored to have a human join us." Jake felt confused. Earth was dangerous? He thought about his home in Colorado. Sure, there were bears and mountain lions, but people dealt with those all the time. His little sister Amy played in the backyard where rattlesnakes sometimes sunbathed on the rocks. A small, furry creature with big eyes stepped forward. "I am Bolt from Whisperfall. I have heard stories about Earth. Is it true that your sky rains water?" "Yeah, that's called rain," Jake said. "It's pretty normal." Bolt's eyes got even bigger. "Water falling from the sky? That sounds terrifying." Jake tried not to laugh. "It's actually nice. Kids play in the rain sometimes." The group of students made worried sounds. A blue alien with tentacles instead of arms spoke up. "I am Zara from Nereid. On my world, we have gentle currents in our oceans. But I heard Earth's waters have creatures that eat other creatures." "Well, yeah, sharks and stuff," Jake said. "But most of them don't bother people. I've been swimming in the ocean lots of times." Zara turned pale blue, which Jake guessed meant she was scared. Commander Veltar raised one of his 6 hands. "Let us move to the dormitory area. You will meet your roommates and get settled." They walked through long hallways with windows showing the stars outside. Jake had never been in space before, but it felt natural to him. Some of the other students held onto the walls because they were not used to the artificial gravity. "Jake Morrison," a voice called out. Jake turned to see a being that looked like it was made of clear crystal. Light seemed to move inside its body when it talked. "I am Crix from Tessara. We are roommates." "Cool," Jake said. "Nice to meet you." Crix made a sound like wind chimes. "I must ask, is it true that humans sleep in darkness? Without any protective barriers?" "Yeah, we just close our eyes and sleep," Jake replied. "Do you sleep differently?" "On Tessara, we rest in special chambers that protect us from all dangers." "The idea of sleeping in the open seems very brave." Jake scratched his head. "I don't think sleeping is brave. I used to go camping with my family. We'd sleep outside under the stars." Crix's light flickered rapidly. "Outside? With no walls? How did you survive?" "It was fun. We'd make a fire and cook food over it. Sometimes we'd hear wolves howling in the distance." "Wolves?" Crix's voice got higher. "Are those the Earth creatures that hunt in groups?" "Yeah, but they mostly stay away from people. My dad always said they're more afraid of us than we are of them." Crix went quiet for a long time. Jake wondered if he had said something wrong. They reached their room, which had 2 beds and a window looking out at the stars. Crix immediately went to a control panel and started adjusting settings. "I am increasing the security level and adding extra sensors," he explained. "For what?" Jake asked. "In case of emergency. You never know what might happen." Jake unpacked his clothes and a few pictures from home. One showed his family at a lake in the mountains. Another was from his high school graduation. His little sister Amy was making a funny face in the background. "Is that your family?" Crix asked, his voice full of curiosity. "Yeah, that's my mom, dad, and little sister Amy. This was taken at Bear Lake last summer." "Bear Lake?" Crix's light flickered again. "There are bears near where your family goes to relax?" "Sometimes. We saw a few that day, but they were on the other side of the lake." Amy wanted to get closer to take pictures, but Mom said no. "Your sister wanted to approach the dangerous creatures?" Jake laughed. "Amy's not scared of anything. She's only 14, but she's tougher than most adults I know." Crix was quiet again. Jake could see light moving faster inside his crystal body. "I think I need to rest," Crix said finally. "This conversation has been very stimulating." "Sure thing, roommate. I'm going to look around the station a bit." "Be careful," Crix said. "And please do not bring any dangerous Earth habits with you when you return." Jake smiled and headed out into the hallway. He passed groups of alien students talking in small groups. They all stopped talking when they saw him and watched him walk by. Some pointed at him and whispered to their friends. At the end of the hallway, Jake found a big window with a view of Centauri Prime below. The planet was covered in soft green colors and had small white clouds floating in a pink sky. It looked peaceful and beautiful. He thought about home and wondered what his family was doing. His mom was probably making dinner. His dad might be fixing something in the garage. Amy was probably climbing trees in the backyard, even though Mom always told her to be careful. Jake smiled as he realized that his normal life on Earth was considered incredibly dangerous by the rest of the galaxy. He wondered what these aliens would think if they met his little sister Amy, who once scared away a black bear by yelling at it when it got too close to their campsite. This was going to be an interesting year at the academy. Jake's first week at the academy passed quickly. Every morning, he woke up before his alarm while Crix was still resting in his protective sleep chamber. The crystal being needed 12 hours of rest each day, surrounded by special lights that kept him safe from what he called dangerous sleep interruptions. The morning routine included basic physical training in the academy's main gymnasium. Jake joined a group of about 30 students from different species. Their instructor was Lieutenant Colonel Hayes, a tall reptilian alien with green scales and yellow eyes that seemed to see everything. "Today we practice emergency movement," Lieutenant Colonel Hayes announced. "You must cross the obstacle course in less than 10 minutes to pass." Jake looked at the obstacle course. It had some low walls to climb over, a few ropes to swing on, and what looked like a small hill to run up. Back home, this would have been easy for kids at the local playground. "Remember," the instructor continued, "this course simulates dangerous conditions. Move carefully. Safety is most important." The alien students lined up and began the course one by one. Jake watched as they climbed slowly over the walls, testing each rope carefully before swinging across small gaps. Most of them finished in about 8 minutes, breathing hard and looking proud of themselves. "Morrison, you're next," Lieutenant Colonel Hayes called. Jake jogged to the starting line. The other students gathered around to watch. Some had recording devices, like they were expecting something interesting to happen. "Ready?" the instructor asked. Jake nodded and started running. He jumped over the first wall instead of climbing it, which made several students gasp. He grabbed the rope and swung across the gap in one smooth motion. The small hill was easy to run up, and he finished the course in less than 3 minutes. The gymnasium was completely quiet. All the alien students stared at him with wide eyes. Some had their mouths open in shock. "Did I do something wrong?" Jake asked. Lieutenant Colonel Hayes looked at her timing device twice. "You broke the academy record by 4 minutes." "Oh, sorry, should I go slower next time?" "No," the instructor said slowly. "That was acceptable performance." After training, Jake walked with his usual group to the dining hall. Besides Crix, he had become friends with Zara, the blue-tentacled alien from the ocean world, and Bolt, the small furry creature who always seemed nervous about everything. "Jake," Zara said as they got their food, "can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "How Do you move so fast without being afraid of getting hurt? Jake thought about it while he picked up something that looked like green soup. I guess I never really thought about it. Back home, if you move too slow, you might miss something fun. Fun? Bolt squeaked. Physical challenges are fun? Yeah, me and my friends used to race through the woods behind our school. We'd jump over logs and climb rocks. Sometimes we'd have contests to see who could swing the farthest on the rope over Miller's Creek. You would swing over water? Zara asked, her tentacles wiggling with worry. It was only about 8 feet deep, and it was really cold, so it felt great on hot days. Crix made his wind chime sound. What happened if you fell? Then you got wet, Jake said with a shrug. No big deal. The three aliens looked at each other. Jake could tell they were having trouble understanding how getting wet could be no big deal. That afternoon, they had their first weapons training class. The instructor, a four-armed alien named Sergeant Knox, showed them how to use the standard Academy laser pistol. This weapon is set to training mode, Sergeant Knox explained. It will cause a small shock if you hit your target, but it cannot cause permanent damage. However, you must treat it with respect. Even training weapons can be dangerous. Jake picked up his weapon and examined it. It was lighter than the hunting rifles his dad had taught him to use back home. The design was simple and the controls were easy to understand. We will practice on stationary targets first, the sergeant said. Take your time, aim carefully. Do not worry if you miss. These targets are very small and difficult to hit. Jake looked at the targets. They were about the size of dinner plates and maybe 50 feet away. When he went hunting with his dad, they shot at much smaller targets from much farther away. The other students lined up and began firing. Most of them missed completely at first. A few managed to hit the outer edge of the targets after several tries. They cheered when they hit anything at all. Morrison, Sergeant Knox called. Your turn? Jake stepped up to the firing line. He raised the weapon, aimed for half a second, and fired. The laser hit the center of the target exactly. Good shot, the sergeant said. Try again. Jake fired 4 more times, hitting the center of the target each time. The other students stopped their own practice to watch him. Have you used weapons before? Sergeant Knox asked. My dad taught me to hunt when I was 12, Jake said. But those were real guns, not lasers. Real guns? Bolt whispered to Zara. He used actual projectile weapons. What did you hunt? The sergeant asked. Deer. Mostly, sometimes elk. Once we got a bear, but that was because it was causing problems in town. The entire class went quiet. Sergeant Knox's forearm stopped moving. You hunted large predators? The sergeant asked slowly. Well, the bear was really old and sick. The game warden said it needed to be put down anyway. Dad thought it would be good for me to learn how to handle dangerous situations. At what age did you do this? I was 15, I think. Sergeant Knox made some notes on his electronic pad. Class dismissed. Morrison, please stay behind. After the other students left, the sergeant sat down across from Jake. I need to ask you some questions for my report. Did I do something wrong? No, but I need to understand your background better. On your world, do all children learn to use weapons? Not all of them, but lots of kids learn to hunt or target shoot. It's pretty normal where I come from. And children are allowed to face dangerous animals? Jake thought about this. We don't go looking for danger. But if you live in places where there are bears or mountain lions, you learn how to handle yourself. My little sister Amy knows what to do if she sees a cougar. What would she do? Make herself look big, make noise, back away slowly. Never run, because that makes them want to chase you. The sergeant wrote more notes. How old is your sister? 14. And she has encountered these predators before, a few times. Once she was hiking with her friends and they saw a mountain lion. She got everyone to follow the safety rules and it worked out fine. Sergeant Knox put down his electronic pad. Jake, I think you should know that most species in the galaxy have never seen a natural predator. On my world, the most dangerous animal is about the size of your hand and it only eats plants. Really? Really? What you consider normal childhood experiences would be considered extremely dangerous military training by most of our standards. Jake felt confused, but Earth isn't that dangerous. People live normal lives there. That's exactly what makes it so remarkable, the sergeant said. You don't even realize how tough you are. That evening, Jake sat in his room while Crix recharged his energy by standing in a special light beam. Jake was writing a message to his family back home. Hey Mom, Dad, and Amy, he wrote. The academy is really cool. I'm learning lots of new things. The other students are nice, but they seem to think Earth is a really dangerous place. Today in weapons training, I found out that most aliens have never seen a real predator. Can you believe that? I miss you all. Tell Amy I said hi and to stay out of trouble. Love, Jake. He sent the message and lay down on his bed. Through the window, he could see the peaceful planet below with its soft colors and gentle atmosphere. It was beautiful, but Jake found himself missing the wild mountains and forests of home. Crix finished charging and walked over to his bed. Jake, may I ask you something? Sure. Do you miss the danger of your home world? Jake thought about this. I miss my family. And I miss the mountains. But I wouldn't really call it dangerous. It's just ... alive, you know? No, Crix said quietly. I do not know. But I'm beginning to understand that humans see the world very differently than the rest of us. Maybe that's not a bad thing, Jake said. Perhaps not, Crix agreed. But it is certainly interesting. 6 months had passed since Jake arrived at the academy. He had gotten used to the strange looks and whispered conversations that followed him everywhere. The other students were friendly enough, but they still treated him like he might explode. At any moment, Jake had learned to be more careful around his classmates. After accidentally breaking Bolt's wrist during a friendly handshake, he made sure to control his strength. When he sneezed during a quiet study session and made half the class dive for cover, he learned to warn people before making sudden movements. The academy's medical staff had also gotten used to treating Jake's classmates for what they called human-induced stress reactions. Dr. Pill, the head medical officer, had started keeping special calming medicines just for students who spent too much time around Jake. On this particular morning, Jake woke up excited because today was combat simulation day. These sessions happened once a week, and they were the closest thing to real action that the academy offered. The students used low-power laser weapons to practice fighting holographic enemies in different environments. After breakfast, all the senior students gathered in the main auditorium. Commander Veltar stood at the front, his 6 arms folded behind his back. His expression was more serious than usual. Students, the commander began, you have been training for 6 months. Most of you have shown excellent progress in your studies. Jake noticed that the commander's eyes stopped on him for a moment longer than the others. Today I have an important announcement. In 2 weeks, you will participate in the Academy's most challenging exercise, the live fire drill. A wave of nervous sounds swept through the auditorium. Some students gasped. Others made worried clicking or whistling noises. A few began breathing heavily. I know this news may cause concern, Commander Veltar continued. The live fire drill is designed to test everything you have learned. You will work in teams to complete missions while under fire from automated defense systems. Zara's tentacles began curling and uncurling rapidly. Bolt was shaking so hard his fur was standing up. Crix's inner light was flickering in patterns. That Jake had learned meant he was very worried. The weapons used in this exercise are not toys, the commander explained. They will cause pain if they hit you. They will leave marks on your skin. Some of you may be injured. This is why we call it live fire. Several students made sounds like they were going to be sick. Jake looked around and saw that some of his classmates looked like they were about to cry. You have 2 weeks to prepare. Use this time to practice your teamwork and review your tactical training. Medical staff will be standing by during the exercise, but remember that the goal is not to get hit. Commander Veltar's voice became even more serious. I want to be clear about something. This exercise is dangerous. In the past, students have been seriously hurt. Some have quit the academy rather than face the live fire drill. If any of you wish to withdraw from the program, now is the time to do so. About a dozen students immediately raised their hands or made other signals that they wanted to leave. Jake watched in surprise as they gathered their things and walked out of the auditorium. For those who remain, the commander said, spend these next 2 weeks preparing yourselves mentally and physically. This will be the hardest thing you have ever done. After the announcement, Jake walked with his usual group toward their next class. Nobody was talking. Crix was making soft chiming sounds that Jake had learned meant he was trying to calm himself down. Hey guys, Jake said, what's everyone so worried about? Bolt stopped walking and stared at Jake. What do you mean? What are we worried about? Did you hear what the commander said? Yeah, it sounds like fun. We get to use real weapons and practice actual combat scenarios. Fun? Zara's tentacles were turning darker blue. Jake, he said people get hurt. He said some students quit, rather. Then face this. But that's what makes it interesting, Jake said. All our training so far has been pretty easy. This sounds like the first real challenge. Crix's light stopped flickering. Easy? You think our training has been easy? Well, yeah, I mean, the obstacle course is like a playground. The combat simulations are just shooting at holograms. This live fire thing sounds like we'll finally get to test our skills for real. His three friends looked at each other. Jake could tell they were having one of those silent conversations that aliens seem to have when they thought he was being particularly crazy. Jake, Bolt said carefully, are you looking forward to being shot at? I guess so. It'll be good practice for real situations? Real situations? Zara asked. You mean actual combat? Yeah, I mean, that's what we're training for, right? To be peacekeepers and defend the galaxy? Most of us hope we never have to face real combat, Crix said quietly. Jake thought about this. But how can you be good at something if you never practice it for real? We practice in simulations, Bolt explained. Safe simulations where no one gets hurt. But if no one gets hurt, how do you know if you're really ready? His friends didn't have an answer for that. That evening, Jake used the Academy's communication system to call his family. His mom answered, and he could see his dad and sister Amy in the background. Hey, sweetie, his mom said. How's school going? Great, Mom. We're having a big exercise in 2 weeks. It's called a live fire drill. Oh, that sounds exciting, his dad said, walking over to the screen. Like war games? Yeah, kind of. We have to complete missions while automated guns shoot at us. Cool, Amy said, pushing her way into view. Are you nervous? Not really. I'm actually looking forward to it. Good for you, his mom said. Just remember to be careful and follow all the safety rules. I will. How's everything at home? Your sister climbed to the top of Eagle's Peak yesterday, his dad said proudly. By herself? Jake asked. Yeah, Amy said with a big grin. It was awesome. I saw a golden eagle's nest near the summit. Did you get close to it? Nah, I know better than to mess with nesting birds. But I got some great pictures from a distance. After they finished talking, Jake sat in his room thinking about the difference between his family's reaction and his classmates' reactions. His 14-year-old sister climbed dangerous mountains for fun, but his alien friends were terrified of a training exercise. Crix came back from dinner and immediately started checking all the room's safety systems. I've been thinking about the live fire drill, he said. Yeah? I am very scared, Jake. I have never been in a situation where I might get hurt on purpose. It's not on purpose, Jake said. The point is to not get hurt. But the possibility makes it real. That is exactly what frightens me. Jake tried to think of a way to help his roommate feel better. Look, Crix, you're really smart. You're good at planning and you notice things other people miss. Those are great skills for this kind of exercise. But what if I panic? What if I freeze up when the shooting starts? Then your team will help you. That's what teammates do. What if my team needs me to do something dangerous and I cannot do it? Jake sat on his bed and faced his roommate. Crix, back home, my little sister Amy does things that would probably terrify you. She climbs cliffs, swims in cold mountain lakes, and camps in places where there are wild animals. But she's not fearless. She's just learned that being a little scared is okay as long as you don't let it stop you from doing what needs to be done. Your sister sounds very brave. She is, but she started small. First she climbed trees in our backyard, then bigger trees, then small rocks, then bigger rocks. She built up her courage over time. I do not have time to build up my courage. The exercise is in 2 weeks. Then we'll practice together, Jake said. I'll help you get ready. You would do that? Of course, we're roommates. And more than that, we're friends. Crix's light pulsed in a warm, steady rhythm. Thank you, Jake. I think I understand now why humans are able to survive on such a dangerous world. Why's that? Because you take care of each other. Jake smiled. Yeah, I guess we do. Over the next few days, Jake noticed that the academy felt different. Students who had seemed confident before now looked worried all the time. Study groups formed to practice combat tactics. The medical bay started offering stress counseling sessions. Some students spent their free time writing messages to their families like they were saying goodbye. Others practiced meditation and calming exercises. A few more decided to quit the academy rather than face the live fire drill, but Jake felt more excited each day. Finally, he was going to get a real challenge, something that would test his skills. And training in a meaningful way, he started exercising more and spent extra time in the shooting range. Though he had to be careful not to break any more academy records, the live fire drill was going to be interesting. And Jake couldn't wait to see what his classmates were really capable of when they had to face real danger for the first time in their lives. The morning of the live fire drill arrived with unusual activity throughout the academy. Jake woke up early and found Crix already awake, standing perfectly still in the center of their room. You okay, roommate? Jake asked. I am attempting to achieve a state of mental calm, Crix replied, his voice sounding strained. I have been awake for 3 hours preparing myself. Did it work? No. Jake got dressed and tried to think of something encouraging to say. Hey, remember what we practiced? Stay behind cover, watch for my signals, and stick with the team. You'll do fine? Easy for you to say? Crix said, his light flickering rapidly. You are looking forward to this. Jake couldn't argue with that. He was excited about the drill in a way that seemed to worry everyone around him. Even the instructors had started, giving him strange looks when he asked questions about the exercise. They met Zara and Bolt in the dining hall for breakfast. Zara's tentacles were wrapped so tightly around her body that she looked like a blue ball. Bolt was eating mechanically, his big eyes darting around the room like he expected an attack at any moment. Morning, guys, Jake said cheerfully. Everyone ready for the big day? Please stop being so happy about this, Bolt squeaked. You are making the rest of us more nervous. Sorry, I just think it's going to be interesting. Interesting, Zara muttered. That is one word for it. The dining hall was quieter than usual. Students from different species sat in small groups, talking in hushed voices. Some weren't eating at all. Jake noticed that the medical staff had set up a table near the entrance with what looked like calming medicines and stress relief supplies. After breakfast, all the senior students gathered in the equipment room to get their gear. Each team of 4 was given basic armor, communication devices, and low-power laser weapons. The armor was lightweight but tough, designed to protect against the worst injuries while still allowing the weapons to cause pain and leave marks. Remember, Lieutenant Colonel Hayes announced, the goal is to complete your mission objectives without getting shot. The automated defense systems will target anyone they detect. Work as a team, use cover, and think before you act. Jake's team consisted of him, Crix, Zara, and Bolt. They had been practicing together for 2 weeks, though most of their practice sessions had involved helping the other 3 overcome their fear rather than actual tactical training. Our mission is to rescue hostages from the central building, Jake explained to his team as they put on their equipment. We need to get in, find the hostages, and get them to the extraction point. How many automated guns will be shooting at us? Bolt asked nervously. The briefing said about 20, spread throughout the area. 20? Zara's tentacles went pale. 20 guns shooting at us? That's why we use cover and move carefully, Jake said. The guns can't shoot what they can't see. What if they see us anyway? Crix asked. Then we move fast and find better cover. What if there is no better cover? Then we deal with that when it happens. His teammates looked at each other with expressions that clearly said they were not satisfied with this answer. The teams were led to the entrance of the combat simulation deck. Through the thick glass doors, Jake could see a large chamber that had been set up to look like a destroyed city. Buildings with broken walls provided cover, but Jake could also see the dark shapes of automated gun turrets positioned on rooftops and balconies. Teams will enter one at a time, Commander Veltar announced. You have 30 minutes to complete your objectives. Medical teams are standing by. Jake watched through the observation windows as the first team entered the simulation. They were a group of 4 aliens from a species that looked like large cats. They moved slowly and carefully, staying close to the walls and checking every corner. The first shots came suddenly. Red laser beams lit up the air, and one of the cat-like aliens cried out as a beam hit him in the shoulder. He stumbled but kept moving. His teammates dragged him behind a concrete barrier. See? Jake said to his team. They got hit, but they're okay. The weapons hurt, but they're not going to kill anyone. That alien is bleeding, Bolt pointed out. Just a little. He'll be fine. The first team managed to complete their mission, but it took them the full 30 minutes, and all 4 members were hit multiple times. They came out of the simulation looking exhausted and shaken. Team Morrison, you're up, Lieutenant Colonel Hayes called. Jake's team approached the entrance. He could feel the tension radiating from his teammates. Crix was making soft chiming sounds. Zara's tentacles were curled so tight they looked painful. Bolt was shaking. Okay, guys, Jake said quietly. Remember the plan. I'll take point and scout ahead. Crix, you watch our backs and call out anything I miss. Zara, you're our medic and equipment specialist. Bolt, you're fast and small, so you're perfect for getting into tight spaces. What if we get separated? Zara asked. We won't. We stick together no matter what. The doors opened and they entered the simulation. The artificial city was darker than it had looked from outside, with smoke effects and dim lighting creating an atmosphere of danger. Jake could hear the quiet humming of the automated gun systems. Stay low and follow me, Jake whispered into his communication device. They moved forward, using a destroyed vehicle as cover. Jake scanned the area ahead, looking for signs of the gun turrets. He spotted 2 on a nearby rooftop and 1 behind a pile of rubble to their left. Guns at 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock, he reported. We're going to move to that building on the right. When I say go, we run fast and stay low. What if they shoot at us? Bolt asked. Then we run faster. That is not a very detailed plan, Crix said. Sometimes simple plans work best. Ready? Go. Jake sprinted toward the building, his teammates following behind him. Red laser beams immediately lit up the air around them. Jake heard Zara make a scared sound as a beam passed close to her tentacles. They reached the building safely and pressed against the wall. Jake could hear his teammates breathing hard from fear and exertion. Everyone okay? He asked. I think so, Crix said. But there are more guns than we expected. Yeah, I count at least 6 that we can see. There are probably more. How do we get past them all? Zara asked. Jake studied the area ahead. The building where the hostages were being held was about 100 meters away, across an open courtyard. There were several gun turrets covering the space, but Jake could see a path that would take them from cover to cover. We move fast and use the smoke, he said. Those guns track movement, but they have trouble with quick targets and low visibility. You want us to run through the open area? Bolt squeaked. Not run, sprint, like our lives depend on it. What if we get shot? Then we get shot. But we keep moving until we reach the objective. Jake started moving before his teammates could argue. He dashed from their cover toward a pile of concrete blocks about 20 meters away. Laser beams immediately began tracking him, but he was moving too fast and changing direction too often for them to get a solid hit. He reached the concrete blocks and looked back. His teammates were still pressed against the building, frozen with fear. Come on, he called. You can do this. Crix. was the first to move. The crystal being ran awkwardly but with determination. A laser beam grazed his arm, causing him to stumble, but he kept going and reached Jake's position. "That was not so bad," Crick said, though his light was flickering with pain. "See? Now come on, Zara and Bolt, we need to stick together." Zara and Bolt made their run together. Bolt's small size made him hard to hit, but Zara's tentacles were longer and easier targets. She cried out as a laser beam hit one of her tentacles, but she kept moving and reached the concrete blocks. "Good job, everyone," Jake said. "See, we can do this." They continued moving from cover to cover, getting closer to the target building. Jake noticed that his teammates were starting to move with more confidence. Getting hit once and surviving seemed to have helped them realize that the weapons weren't going to kill them. "There's the entrance," Jake said, pointing to a doorway about 30 meters ahead. "But there are 3 gun turrets covering it. How do we get past 3 guns?" Zara asked. Jake studied the situation. The guns were positioned to cover the main approach to the building, but they were automated systems. They followed predictable patterns and had limitations. "I'm going to draw their fire," he said. "While they're shooting at me, you 3 go around the left side and get to the door." "That's suicide," Crick said. "They'll hit you for sure." "Maybe, but I'm fast and I can handle getting shot a few times. The mission is what matters." Before his teammates could argue, Jake jumped over the concrete blocks and started running straight toward the gun turrets. He zigged and zagged, diving and rolling as red laser beams cut through the air around him. The guns immediately focused all their attention on him. Jake felt the heat of laser beams passing inches from his body. One beam grazed his shoulder, causing a sharp pain, but he kept moving. "Go, go, go!" He shouted into his communication device. His teammates ran around the left side of the courtyard while the guns were distracted. Jake continued his wild dash, leading the automated weapons away from his friends. Another laser beam hit him in the leg, causing him to stumble, but he rolled and kept going. "We're at the door," Zara called. "Jake, get over here." Jake made one final sprint toward the building. The guns tracked him, but he was moving too errant. Jake sat in Commander Veltar's office, waiting while the 6-armed alien reviewed footage from the live fire drill. The commander's black eyes reflected the light from his computer screen as he watched Jake's performance over and over again. "Interesting," the commander said finally. "Very interesting." "Did I do something wrong, sir?" "Wrong?" Commander Veltar looked up from his screen. "Morrison, you just completed the live fire drill in 28 minutes. The previous record was 42 minutes. You took multiple hits and kept fighting. You led your team to victory despite the fact that they were paralyzed with fear for the first half of the exercise." "They did great once they got started," Jake said. "They just needed to see that getting hit wasn't the end of the world." "That is exactly what I find most interesting," the commander said. "You treated getting shot as a minor inconvenience. Most species would consider that level of pain to be a serious injury. The weapons weren't that bad? I've been hurt worse playing football." "Football? It's a game we play back home. You try to carry a ball to the end of a field while other people try to stop you. Sometimes you get tackled pretty hard." Commander Veltar made notes on his electronic pad. "And this is considered entertainment on your world?" "Yeah, it's really popular. My sister Amy plays on her school's team." "Your 14-year-old sister participates in combat sports?" "Well, we don't really think of it as combat, it's just football." The commander was quiet for a long moment. "Jake, I need to share something with you. We have been recording your performance since you arrived at the academy. Your physical abilities, your reaction to stress, your pain tolerance, your tactical thinking, all of it. Why?" "Because humanity is new to the galactic community. We need to understand what your species is capable of. Today's exercise gave us some very important information." Jake felt a little uncomfortable. "What kind of information?" "The kind that will change how the galaxy thinks about humans." The commander turned his screen so Jake could see it. "Watch this." The screen showed footage from the live fire drill. Jake watched himself charging straight at the automated gun. turrets, drawing their fire while his teammates reached safety. He saw himself getting hit multiple times but continuing to move and fight. "Now watch this," the commander said, switching to a different video. "This is footage of our best combat." Instructor, a veteran of 12 military campaigns, attempting the same exercise. Jake watched as a large, heavily muscled alien moved through the simulation. The alien was skilled and experienced, but he moved slowly and carefully. When he was hit by a laser beam, he stopped fighting for several seconds to recover from the pain. "Do you see the difference?" the commander asked. "He's more careful than I am. He is afraid of pain. You are not. That makes you incredibly dangerous in combat situations." Jake thought about this. "I don't think I'm fearless. I just don't see the point in worrying about things that might happen." That attitude is exactly what makes humans so unusual. Most species spend enormous amounts of energy trying to avoid any possibility of harm. You accept that harm might occur and plan accordingly. Is that bad? Bad. No, Jake. It is remarkable. And it is why I've been asked to make a recommendation about humanity's role in galactic defense. Commander Veltar stood up and walked to the window overlooking the Academy's main training areas. For thousands of years, the galaxy has been protected by species who avoid conflict whenever possible. We have peacekeepers, not warriors. Our military doctrine is based on deterrence and negotiation. That sounds smart. It is smart. But it is also limited. There are threats in the galaxy that cannot be negotiated with. Pirates, rogue artificial intelligences, hostile alien species from outside our territory. When we face these threats, we need soldiers who can fight effectively despite the danger. The commander turned back to Jake. Today, you demonstrated that humans have natural abilities that would make them excellent soldiers. But more than that, you showed that you can inspire others to overcome their fears. My teammates did great. Your teammates performed far better than anyone expected because they were following your example. That is leadership, Jake, natural leadership in the face of danger. Jake felt overwhelmed by this conversation. "Sir, I just wanted to complete the mission. I wasn't trying to be special or anything." "That is exactly why you are special. You do not seek glory or recognition. You simply do what needs to be done." There was a soft chime from the commander's communication device. "Sir," a voice said, "the medical staff reports that Morrison's teammates are requesting to see him." "Send them in," the commander said. A moment later, Crix, Zara, and Bolt entered the office. They all had small bandages covering their laser burns, but they looked much happier than they had that morning. "Jake," Crix said, his light pulsing with excitement, "we have been talking to the other students. No one can believe what we accomplished today." "You should see the footage," Zara added. "The way you charged those guns was incredible." "I was just doing what needed to be done," Jake said, feeling embarrassed. "That is what makes it so amazing," Bolt said. "You made it look easy." Commander Veltar watched this exchange with interest. "How do you feel about your performance today?" he asked Jake's teammates. "Proud," Crix said immediately. "I was so scared this morning that I could barely function. But Jake helped me realize that being scared is okay as long as you do not let it stop you." "I learned that I am braver than I thought," Zara said. "When I saw Jake get hit and keep fighting, I realized that I could do the same thing." "I want to try the exercise again," Bolt said. "I think we could do even better next time." "Interesting," the commander said. "You want to repeat the most difficult and dangerous exercise in the Academy curriculum?" "Yes, sir," all three aliens said at once. Commander Veltar looked at Jake. "Do you see what you have done? You have taken 3 of the most cautious species in the galaxy and turned them into warriors." "They were always brave," Jake said. "They just needed to discover it, perhaps. But they discovered it by following your example." The commander returned to his desk and made more notes. "I am going to recommend that Earth be invited to join the Galactic Defense Council. Humanity will be offered the opportunity to provide soldiers and tactical advisors for the galaxy's most dangerous missions." "What does that mean?" Jake asked. "It means that humans will become the galaxy's specialists in dangerous situations. When other species cannot or will not take on a mission because it is too risky, humans will be asked to handle it. Jake thought about his family back home. His parents, his sister Amy, who climbed mountains for fun, his friends who had grown up camping and hiking and playing contact sports. I think humans would be okay with that. I believe you are correct, the commander said. But first, we need to complete your training. You have 8 more months at the academy. Will the training get more challenging? Jake asked hopefully, Commander. Veltara's expression might have been a smile, though it was hard to tell with his alien features. Jake, I think we can arrange for you to face some real challenges. That evening, Jake sat in his room writing a message to his family. Crix was at his desk working on a tactical analysis of their performance in the live fire drill. Hey, Mom. Dad and Amy, Jake wrote. Today was the live fire drill I told you about. It went really well. My team completed the mission in record time. I got shot a few times, but it wasn't too bad. Kind of like getting hit by paintballs, but with lasers. He paused, thinking about how to explain the day's events. The other students here think I'm some kind of super soldier because I'm not afraid of getting hurt. It's weird being famous for something that seems so normal to me. I guess growing up on Earth really is different from growing up anywhere else. The commander says that humans might get invited to join something called the Galactic Defense Council. That would mean Earth becomes part of the galaxy's military. I think Dad would like that. Tell Amy that her big brother is apparently a natural warrior, though I still think she's tougher than me. Jake sent the message and looked out the window at the peaceful planet below. Soon, humans would be out there among the stars, taking on the dangerous missions that other species couldn't handle. It was an exciting thought. Jake, Crix said, looking up from his work. I have been thinking about what happened today. Yeah? I realized something important. Before today, I thought courage meant not being afraid. But watching you, I learned that courage means being afraid and doing what needs to be done anyway. That's pretty wise, roommate. I learned it from you. And from your sister in a way. Amy? You have told many stories about her. She climbs mountains and faces dangerous animals, but she is not reckless. She is careful and smart, but she does not let fear stop her from living her life. Jake smiled. Yeah, that's Amy. I think I understand now why humans are so special. You do not seek out danger, but you do not run from it either. You accept that life involves risk, and you choose to live fully despite that risk. I never really thought about it that way. That is what makes it so natural for you. And that is what makes you such a good leader. Jake looked around their room, thinking about how much had changed since he first arrived at the academy. He had come here to learn how to be a peacekeeper, but he had ended up teaching others how to be brave.